From the heart of Tiger Nation, this is where the insiders talk. Real stories, real access, and the pulse of Memphis athletics. You're tuned on beat with BCM. Now, let's get to the show.
What is happening, everybody? Welcome to another edition of On Beat with BCM here on the Bluff City Media Network. I am Memphis Tigers men's basketball beat reporter for Bluff City Media, Roman Cleary. And once again, I am joined, as always, by our women's basketball beat reporter, Shemaria Wiseman, and our football insider, Sam Shoemaker. How are you guys doing today?
I'm great. Ready to talk some sports.
I'm good. We got a lot to talk about, so we can just go ahead and jump right into it.
Yeah, we probably don't want to be burying the lead too much.
Right.
I think we're all relaxed and rested up after what was hopefully a great Thanksgiving for everybody. It is holiday season, hoop season. So very busy time of the year for myself, and I'm sure for you as well, Shemaria. But I think we have to remember, take the time with the family and things like that and still make that a priority. We certainly did that last week. But Ryan Silverfield certainly had other priorities going on. I think there was a pretty, negative tone going on after what we saw on Thanksgiving against Navy, right? It seemed like a rock bottom, bottle of the barrel type moment, third straight loss to end of the regular season. Memphis loses its final 3 regular season games, drops to 4-4 in the American, which is good for, I believe, like 7th in the conference. So it seemed like you were getting another year with Silverfield, and the tension was going to be as high as ever. But then I think, Sam, I think you and I knew this was a possibility, dating back to a couple months ago. But when the Alex Golish rumors come in, and then you hear a little bit of Kane Womack and other candidates for this Arkansas job, to then see Silverfield take it on Sunday morning and off and went. Silverfield gets a fresh start, as does, Memphis. So, what did you make of Ryan Silverfield heading to Arkansas there?
Yeah, you mentioned it a little bit, but I got on here last week saying, hey, there's apathy and indifference towards this program. He just went 8-4, finished 7th in the conference, and in a conference that he really should have won. This is good. People care now, right? You're seeing all up and down the timeline. 2 days ago was one of the funniest days, I guess, in recent memory for, Tiger Twitter history, right? And it's just fun. You want people talking about Memphis Tiger football. So, but just going back, looking at Ryan Silverfield's tenure, the phrase I keep saying is 2 things can be true at once, right? Yeah, he had all these wins, but I was still surprised that someone else hired him away just because of all the disappointment. He created an apathy towards a winning program, which is kind of impressive to do. A coach got hired away to an SEC team from a group of 5 school, and the group of 5 school fans were happy. I ran a poll, 64% said glad he's gone. Only 12% said wish he stayed. 23% just indifferent, just didn't care. Got over 100 votes on that poll. So it's it's just the minority of Tiger fans on Twitter. So who knows how much it actually means. But honestly, I would say that's a pretty fair representation of what Tiger fans felt about Silverfield. But for Memphis, this was the best case scenario because Ryan Silverfield was never going to get fired. You just couldn't fire him. Yet so many wanted him gone, and you don't have to pay the buyout. And you also don't have to scare away other coaches of saying, hey, the bar's too high at Memphis. I'm not going to take this job, right? So in a sense, yeah, you lost Silverfield, and there's going to be a bit of a rebuilding period or a retooling period. We could talk about that going forward. But in a sense, this was a great scenario for Ed Scott because he gets a fresh start. Ed Scott finally gets to make his hire, and we'll get into who we think that's going to be next. But overall, this is a really exciting time for just from the business side of it. You know what I mean? People are talking about Memphis football. That's exciting. So I'd say Tiger fans are really optimistic just because the program's been on an upward trajectory, in part thanks to Silverfield. But yeah, a lot of room for optimism.
Yeah, it was honestly a pretty surreal scene. I don't think I've ever truly seen anything like it, to where the team that loses the coach, its fan base is almost unanimously in celebration, as demonstrated by the poll that you ran on Twitter, and just generally demonstrated by what you saw in terms of just general reactions on social media, I'd say. So you see Memphis fans who lost their coach, and again, they're almost all of them are celebrating. They're happy across the board. But then you go to the Arkansas side of things, and the outrage is palpable for sure. They are united in fury, in a sense. You even see the viral pictures of them protesting, or at least some of them, not many, protesting in front
About 10 of them.
facility. Shemaria, have you ever seen a fan base so infuriated at a coaching hire and subsequently also at an athletic administration that they are willing to stand outside of the football facility or whatever facility it is with paper bags on their head? You ever seen that before?
I've never seen anything like that before. And honestly, for a moment, obviously, I felt bad for Ryan Silverfield. I'm like, this is crazy. He should definitely stay off social media for the next couple of days. But then he's getting paid too. But it was nothing I've ever seen. And from the reports, I also heard that they were it was announced that they were supposed to be getting a whole nother coach. So to go from that coach and then to go to Ryan Silverfield, obviously a big difference in what the program wanted. And this also just shows the frustration, that they have with the athletic department over there in Arkansas. So yeah, but I've never seen anything like that ever. No.
Well, Shemaria, you are certainly right. He is getting paid, and he is getting paid a lot of money to migrate over from Memphis to Fayetteville. I believe it's a 4-year contract where he's getting paid $6.7 million a year on average. Memphis will also be receiving a $1.5 million buyout to, allow Arkansas to take Silverfield off of its hands. So, Sam, as you mentioned a second ago, Memphis would not have had to pay what was a buyout of around $9 million or so. Instead, they get paid $1.5 million to let Silverfield go. And I think it is definitely a new day for Memphis football in a lot of ways. At the end of the day, none of us cover him anymore, and he's not associated with Memphis athletics, that we are involved in there. So I think we can be a little bit more honest about what this was and why I think so many fans were frustrated. I think it's hard to argue that even though Silverfield did have consistent winning seasons, I think it's hard to argue overall that his tenure overall was a failure, because the standard of Memphis football as the supposed best football program in the country outside of the power conference structure, it's certainly funded that way, and it's certainly viewed that way from both a local and national perspective. They need to be at least contending for the American Conference Championship on a season-by-season basis. And with Ryan Silverfield over 6 seasons, they never appear in the title game. They never really get particularly close by season's end. He went 6-6 in back-to-back years in the American in 21 and 22. I believe finished 3-5 in the league play in both those seasons. And he finished 500 or worse in American play in 3 of the last 5 seasons. But then you see, Houston, UCF, Cincinnati all leave, and that opens up the door for Memphis to start winning more against subpar competition. But even then, Memphis is just never able to get over the hump. Honestly, for me, I never fully got why he was given as much of a leash publicly, where you see other coaches in the city such as Penny Hardaway and Taylor Jenkins, they get criticized vehemently for all the things that they're doing, even though both of those guys, I think, have experienced way more success in their respective tenures.
Are you talking about from the media side or from the fan perspective? Because Ryan Silverfield was certainly persecuted, I guess, for his losses. People hated Ryan Silverfield. So are you saying?
I mean, recently, yes.
Hardaway...
Recently, for sure. But if you go over the entire 6-year scope, the noise for Ryan, it was not that loud, if you remember, when he went 6-6 in back-to-back years. Not near as loud as it was now. And then
I think I disagree a bit. I think part of that is people just don't care about Memphis football as much. I think people care so deeply about the Grizzlies and Memphis Tigers basketball. If it's not meeting the standard, they're going to let people know. I understand your point for sure, but I would say I would chalk it up to just people just don't care as much, which you need a coach who's going to get people to care for football.
Yeah. And beyond that point, on top of that, you had the Silverfield truthers out there, and they would constantly point to the same things over and over again. Like he's an elite program builder, right? That's what they would always say. He's an elite program builder, elite culture guy, always leaving things organized or whatever. This all-in culture that is supposedly going to lead Memphis to the promised land, right? That's what they said year after year after year, even though Memphis would fall short, and they would fall short for the exact same reasons. And that is because at the end of the day, they were a poorly coached team on the field. It's just hard to argue that if you watch them against equal to upper level competition over the past 6 seasons. Yeah, sure, they would beat up on the little guys in the conference most of the time, even though Ryan would also suffer an upset to at least one of those every year. But typically you would see them beat up on, the FAUs and the Rices and the Tulsas of the world. But when it's time to face a Tulane, when it's time to face a Navy, when it's time to face the upper tier competition, even a team like East Carolina that finished like 4th in the league this year, they would consistently get out-schemed and out-coached. It had nothing to do with the talent. Memphis fielded, among the most expensive rosters in the league, the most talented roster in the league practically every year. It had nothing to do with talent. In the American Athletic Conference, or excuse me, just the American Conference now, Memphis would be the most talented team on the field in every game it played, right? I think it's hard to argue that. And yet the results that you would expect didn't really match. You also go to something like, I never thought that, Sam, you are a guy that's super locked in on the film, right? You have a certain eye for this stuff. So I guess maybe you can tell me, what does a Ryan Silverfield coach team do well on the field consistently? Like what does it do well? What is the on-field identity of a Ryan Silverfield football team? Like proven.
You're right, because it changes year over year based on who his coordinator is, because he delegates. And that's part of the narrative of, hey, Ryan is an elite program builder. So you're right. We can finally, I guess, be honest about, although plenty of people have been honest all along about who Ryan Silverfield is. But on the film, like he was letting Hankins run 3-3-5s and he was blitzing safeties from 15 yards out. There was always stuff that threw you off. You know what I mean? And I really like Ramsey as a play designer, but Silverfield wasn't changing the identity of the team on the field. The answer that Silverfield would give you to that question that I don't have an opinion on, and I guess this
is that they're all in. We are all in.
That they're all in, and they're going to play hard every single down. And there's something to say to that. If it's true, I'm not sure if it is. You know what I mean?
That's not an on-field identity.
But you're right. Ryan
that,
Silverfield doesn't have an on-field identity, and that's a great point.
Yeah, and when a team doesn't have an on-field identity, that's a sign of poor coaching. That's a sign of a team's inability or a staff's inability to put their players in the best position possible. You look at what Memphis was able to do under Justin Fuente and Mike Norvell. The identity was very clear. They were a high-octane, fast-paced offensive team that was going to live and die by that side of the ball. And they were never the best defensively, but those defenses would usually come up with a player or two that would be able to put the offense in position to go win the game, whether it was a turnover or a sack. You would always see Memphis be able to have a premier pass rusher. with those teams in those years that be able to, take the load off of the back end, whether it was Jackson Dillon under Justin Fuente or Bryce Huff under Mike Norvell. That guy never emerged under Ryan.
Right.
You saw this program lose the on-field identity that I think the fans really fell in love with over the years, and Ryan never really brought anything else to the table to replace that or make up for it. To be honest, I don't think it's going to go well for him in Arkansas, because I just don't think he will be granted near as much patience for the inevitable lack of success that he's probably going to endure. I mean, he's got a really, really tough schedule next year. And even if he didn't, there's been no evidence whatsoever, in my view, that he's going to be able to coach or put together a staff that is capable of, I guess, utilizing whatever talent he recruits there to the best of its ability. I'd be shocked if he lasts, even 2 years there, to be honest with you. I just don't think it's going to go very well. I mean, maybe he can, get Arkansas to like 5 wins or so, and maybe they'll be happy with that. But I'm just very skeptical, because when he faced teams at Memphis that were of better or equal talent, he usually squandered. And that's practically going to be every week in the SEC.
Yeah, Silverfield's the archetype of coach Silverfield is, you're not going to have a particular on-field identity. Your identity is going to shift based on who you have as your players, right? He had Seth Hennigan. He ran that. He ran the Seth Hennigan offense. He immediately got Brendan Lewis, and then now you're running rollout RPOs that you didn't really run with Seth Hennigan. And I don't know how much of that is Cramsey, how much of that is Silverfield, but you're right. There's no identity year over year. It's just whatever you have. And I will say something Memphis fans can be excited for is finally Hankins won't be back. Jordan Hankins, for the fun moments, he had fun exotic blitzes, and he ran a 3.35 that you haven't seen in Memphis before yet. But there was he wasn't prepared for this job, so I think that's something you can definitely look forward to. As far as Arkansas goes, Roman, you're right. This is not a serious hire. You know what I mean? Silverfield, for whatever he is, this hire tells you exactly where Arkansas sees themselves. Arkansas, if they wanted to compete for a national championship, would swing big. Yeah. Yet you're swinging at a coach who hasn't even won the American Conference that you expect to be able to compete in the SEC, right? It's telling you that they're okay with mediocrity and they want stability. That's what you're selling yourself on with Ryan Silverfield, right? Whether you get it or not, Roman, you're saying he won't make it 2 years, however long he makes it. This is Hunter Yurichek's third hire. ADs don't make it to their third hire. This is a very it's just an odd situation in Fayetteville. It's things that don't happen are happening. In Arkansas, coaches have had a longer leash than almost every other SEC program, but I think that's not going to work to Silverfield's advantage. I think patience is going to run out at some point. And you're right. He's in a tough situation because guess what? He won some, but he didn't win enough while he had more resources than everyone else. Now he's at Arkansas. He has middle of the pack at very best resources. How are you going to compete now? This is going to tell us a lot about Ryan Silverfield. If he can make something happen, if he can build stability and build a program and consistently go 7-5, 8-4, good for him. That's awesome. But that's about the best you can expect. So I think the main point to be here is this is not a national championship hire. Arkansas doesn't see them as a national championship school.
Arkansas clearly sees itself as a basketball and baseball school.
Right. And track.
Wouldn't have hired, they wouldn't have hired a guy like Ryan Silverfield if that wasn't the case. All I know is that Ryan, I think, prioritized his all-in culture over everything while at Memphis, even though it didn't really work. And I think you saw that manifest itself in the teams that he was able to he fielded. I mean, Sam, I'm sure you've heard similar things, but based off of what I've been told throughout the years and the conversations I've had, I do not think, despite his vast resources, I don't think he utilized them to the best of his ability or even to the fullest extent of what he could have. I think that was a problem that has to be rectified immediately by whoever takes over next. And I guess that's what will be leading us into this next discussion here. Ryan Silverfield moves on to Arkansas, and all I got to say is good luck, because it just
right.
I just don't foresee it going super well, but it's a new day for Memphis. They haven't hired the new coach yet, but it should be sooner rather than later from what we're hearing. It's going to be a very quick and expedited process. And I guess, Sam, I'll turn it over to you. What are you hearing on this end as to who could potentially be the Tigers' next head man there?
Well, National Signing Day is today, Wednesday, December 3rd. And Memphis right now, as it stands, is on track to have a great recruiting class via Silverfield and via the money, right? This hire is going to tell us a lot about Ed Scott and who he is. I think a lot of fans and just people in general believe in Ed Scott, believe in him as a salesman, believe in him as a businessman. This is a really important clean slate for Ed Scott. He's been here for a bit over a year. This is going to be the first hire he makes, right? He hasn't hired a basketball coach, women's basketball coach. This is the first hire he makes. And as far as what I'm hearing, there are a lot of people in talks. You're seeing Dan Mullen on people want Dan Mullen. He's flirted with the job in the past. I'd be shocked if Dan Mullen came to Memphis. But what I'm hearing is I know Ed Scott is having the conversations. I know he wants to get it done. I have working theories about who it could be. And I would say working theory number one is he hasn't gotten the job done yet because the coach he wants is playing in a conference championship game and the coach is essentially playing hardball, right? So Marshall's coach Huff, and then Kennesaw's Jerry Mack. You got Charles Huff, Jerry Mack. I guess I'll just preview them, right? You got Huff, who spent time at Marshall. He was great. And then he immediately came over to Southern Miss in what was a bizarre, like lateral at best coaching move. Southern Miss is 7-5. That they were horrible last year. That's progress, right? But he's had sustained success at multiple programs. He was the associate head coach under Nick Saban at Alabama. He helped them win that national championship in 2022. And for a lot of Tiger fans, that's enough. They hear the name Nick Saban and they hear someone who's connected to it. Hire him. Give me him, right? Southern Miss led the Sun Belt in passing this year. They went from 15 points a game last year to 30 points a game this year. The reason for optimism here is because guess what? You can have an identity. As far as Jerry Mack goes, he's from Memphis. He played his high school ball at Whitehaven. The Jerry Mack hire kind of seems a little too obvious, but I think it would be a great hire. Mack was the MEAC Coach of the Year in 2016, and then now he worked his way up in the Conference USA at Kennesaw State, who's 1-11 last year. Now they're 9-3 and play for a conference title this week. Guess what? Another quick turnaround. And that's kind of what Ed Scott's looking for. He's not looking for someone who's going to take a while. He's not looking for someone who's going to go 6-6 in their first 2 years and then maybe work their way up. He wants immediate sustained success because Memphis is in a place to do that. And these are the two names I've heard. These are the only two names I've confirmed sources that Ed Scott has at least reached out to. As far as there's many other names, there's a lot of candidates. As far as these two, Memphis can't go wrong. Of course, okay, you can go wrong, right? That's a very optimistic viewpoint. But
yeah,
it's an exciting time for Tiger fans because stuff like this is fun, and the point of watching sports is to have fun, right?
I do have a quick question. One thing that I've been hearing regarding like in the articles I've read and things like that, does it being like the coach being from Memphis, does that really play into a part in how you think this coaching search should go? Should they be from Memphis? Does it not really matter? I know the other previous coaches before Ryan Silverfield weren't from Memphis, and we saw success with those two coaches. But what are your thoughts there?
I would say it definitely doesn't matter as far as who you hire. I would say Ed Scott's not really thinking about that, but what does matter is just the connections that coach has, right? If there's a good player who's at Whitehaven High School, the odds are Jerry Mack's going to land him, right? So it's all, and now with the transfer portal, you're recruiting less and less from high school, but I just say it's all connections based. And, Jerry Mack probably has plenty of connections in Memphis, but it's less so about Memphis represent. It's more about, can he win?
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely.
people often laundered Ryan Silverfield as this program builder, when in reality, he didn't really build a program. He inherited the best
Right.
5 program in America and just made it worse year after year after year. But if you look at a guy like Jerry Mack, who goes to Kennesaw State, who, if I'm not mistaken, just became a D1 school a few years ago.
Yep.
They were 2-9 the year before he gets there last year. He gets hired this year, and they're now 9-3 in the CUSA title game. Again, a year after going 2-9 and just a few years after becoming a D1 program altogether. That is a program builder, guys. That's what it is. Not some dude who yells all in all the time and just expects you to roll with it.
Roman, you're
right?
not a big Ryan Silverfield fan, are you? That's what I'm coming to learn.
No, like that is a program builder. Taking a young D1 program from 2-9 the year before to 9-3 this year. So if you want a guy who's laundered as a program builder or as someone who can perhaps elevate your school and your team to the next level, Jerry Mack could be a very good candidate for that. And on top of that, given the Memphis connections that he has and his success that he's experienced at the FCS level before that, he was also a Memphis staffer under Larry Porter a long time ago as well when he was a younger guy.
Not something I'm proud of.
Yeah, I mean, when Clay Helton was staffer on bad Memphis teams too.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly apples to oranges there.
No.
But Jerry Mack has been the name, whether it's been here or more national reporting, other local reporting. Jerry Mack has been the name I'd say that you've heard the most out of anybody. He was the first one you heard immediately. And then the Charles Huff noise came a day after.
Yeah.
But if you want to base this off of who have we heard the most consistently, and again, this dates back to the Silverfield thing back in September, because you heard all sorts of different names throughout the months-long coaching search for Arkansas. But Ryan Silverfield was the guy you heard consistently time and time and time again, and he's the one who ultimately got that job. And evidence suggests that he knew he was getting it for weeks leading up to it. Even during those games that Memphis was playing against, Tulane, East Carolina, Navy, it's when you get that context, it may be a little easier to see why Memphis might have fallen apart during that stretch. But again, dating back, going back to this, Jerry Mack, even though it's much earlier in the process, he is the name that you've heard the most consistently throughout this search. So I think that evidence based off of what we just heard from Sam right here on this program, it certainly suggests that he's a prime candidate for this job.
Roman, I'll say one more thing about Silverfield before we never talk about him again. I'm kidding. But I think Roman's frustration with Ryan Silverfield and the fact that he's labeled as a program builder, yet he inherited.
It's not really frustration, because at the end of the day, I'm a reporter. I don't care. But
right. The
a
Tigers fan frustration is the fact that he continues. What he says is good. The all-in culture, that's good. But it's the fact that he says the same thing over and over and over. And then if you heard it in his introductory to the team meeting at Arkansas, guess what he said? The exact same thing.
Yes.
He was talking
it
about
was the most uninspiring speech.
Well, no. My theory is the speech isn't bad. Like, he has one thing he's not bad at. It's not like incredible, but like if a coach gave me that speech, I'd be like, you know what, coach, I'm in, coach. You got it. But it's when it's the same speech over and over and over. It gets tiring after 6 years, and that's why people were so tired of Memphis football. And that's why I don't know about y'all. I'd like for y'all to give y'all's opinions here, but I think the general Tiger population trusts Ed Scott. I know as far as the business side, I certainly do. I don't, of course, we haven't seen too much out of him. But as a salesman and as a businessman, I trust Ed Scott. Back before or just during spring training, he said on the Gary Parrish show that, hey, basketball's our moneymaker right now, but football's our future, right? He cares a lot about this hire. He has to get this one right based on everything he's saying. So I think there's just a lot of reason to trust him here because Memphis football is the future, and you have to have a good coach to make it your future. What do you think, Roman?
Yeah, well, it's not set in stone as the future right now, but I think it's pretty fair to say that if Memphis wants to get to the level it desires, which is, of course, the Power Four, it has to be the future, right? At least that's what all the evidence from previous conference realignment that's what it suggests. Football needs to be the premier program there. It has to be the priority. And I think that's what Ed understands more so than anything else. And like you said, he's got to get this one right. This cannot be the Josh Pastner situation where he leaves for Georgia Tech. You think Memphis basketball is saved, and then it gets even worse with Tubby Smith. That cannot happen here. Memphis cannot afford for that to happen when the fan base is already in an apathetic state as it is. You're opening up this brand new stadium. It's not brand new stadium, but it's newly renovated. Might as well be a new stadium in a lot of ways, even though it's in the same building technically. All these exciting developments for the football program and the athletic department as a whole, you cannot afford to flop this next hire. It has to be a home run. And like you said, Sam, I think Ed Scott understands that more than anybody.
Shemaria, what do you think? Do you trust Ed Scott?
I do trust Ed Scott. He, like I already said, he knows that football is the future. So I don't think he'll mess this up. He's got good candidates from what I'm hearing so far. So I think he knows to make the right decision.
Yeah, well, by the time the show airs next week, we should know who it is. Again, if Memphis wants to be able to put itself in a position where it's going to be able to build a capable roster via the transfer portal, because high school recruiting is pretty much cooked that by Silverfield leaving. I mean, I'm sure you could still get some guys, but it's going to be another massive roster influx via the transfer portal. And in order for that to happen, even though Memphis has the resources, they still need the coach and the staff to be able to put it together. And if they're smart about this, we should know who that is by the time the show airs next week. But when we return, we will be turning it over to the hardwood. And for the first time, we will be getting into our Mugshots Player of the Week segment, including, Shemaria, an interview that you had with Memphis women's basketball guard Chaé Harris. We will be doing all that live here next on Beat with BCM. We will return right after this.
I'm gonna say this in my chest out now. This we watching on the court, bro. Don't tell me that look bad, bro. Don't tell me. Islo had his hand, nuts in his hand the last couple weeks. Like, y'all, they better figure this out. Jalen Wells says we know what we're doing. Like, we know what we're doing, what we're trying to do. That type of shit matters, bro. When y'all and Islo got into it, everybody had their solutions. It was like, you got to fire Islo now. Oh, John's still immature. You got to trade John now. What was I saying over here? No, man. They need to sit their monk ass down and figure this shit out. Islo got to be in, John got to be in, and they'll figure this shit out. Now, I still think the shit that Islo doing is fucking weird. Like, and expecting this shit to work is crazy. But I could not say I feel the same way about this shit I felt 2 weeks ago, bro. I ain't saying it look. I ain't saying. I'm about to say this look good, though, man, for real.
Tune in to the Anthony Sain Show Monday through Fridays at 1 p.m. live on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. In Memphis, we know a thing or two about resilience. From the grindhouse to the Delta, we protect what's ours. But when pests invade your home, it's time to fight back. Grade A Pest knows how to handle what crawls, flies, and bites. With local experience and guaranteed results.
I'm Reggie with Grade A Pest Control. We service the Memphis metro area. That also includes DeSoto and Fayette County as well.
Grade A Pest has the entire Mid-South covered. So if bugs and pests put you to the test, let Grade A solve your problem. In the heart of the Highland Strip for 27 years, Trilogy Tattoo has helped tell stories for Memphians for generations. Located at 530 South Highland, Richie and his team are waiting to help you tell yours.
From tattoos to piercings, your body art should be as unique as you are. Voted a Memphis Flyer top 3 tattoo shop in the city of Memphis since day one. Your story will be safe here at Trilogy Tattoo.
Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 11 to 11, and 3 to 11 on Sundays. They have convenient times waiting on you. Let Trilogy Tattoo help you tell your story.
We are back here on Beat with BCM. Roman Cleary, Shemaria Wiseman, Sam Shoemaker with you all once again. Thank you all for joining us this week. And it's time to talk some hoops, right? And we are going to be starting on the women's basketball side as they go 0-2 in the Cayman Islands, Shemaria, against Florida and St. John's, respectively. They're not really that competitive in either game. They lose both by double digits. So undoubtedly some blown opportunities there for the Tigers this week, even though they did get some nice sunshine and relaxation over there in the process. Definitely a nice Thanksgiving, but still walk out of the Cayman Islands 0-2 nonetheless. So what did you see from the Tigers against these power conference opponents?
Just want to say, as expected, this is what I predicted. They would go 0-2 in the Cayman Islands. I think that they did put up a fairly decent fight against these two teams. Once again, the defense is what carried them for majority of the game. You would see, they were able to hold Florida, to 31 points on just 28% shooting in the first half. Their biggest strength. The offense is just their biggest weakness. You would see spurts from them from the offense, but it just wasn't consistent enough to overcome these two leads. They ultimately just got beat by better teams, really, at the end of the day. But Deja Richmond would be the standout performer in the Cayman Islands. She did make the all-tournament team. She averaged 15 points per game and also had 3 steals in each of these games. But yeah, their offense is a major concern. It's not pleasant to watch at all.
Yeah, I feel like that's the thing we've been harping on for the past couple of weeks here, right? It's clearly much improved defensively compared to last year, but the offense just could not seem to get it right. They don't have consistent scoring out of anyone outside of Chaé Harris. And you don't really have a second option beyond her. And beyond that, it's just an incredibly inefficient unit. And when you face higher level teams, whether it's in the non-conference schedule or in the American, it's just not going to get it done. Shemaria, you think it's fair to say that at this point it's American Conference or bust for Memphis?
American Conference or bust? Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think that is very fair to say. Sam, what are your thoughts on the women's basketball team from what you've seen or what you know? Oh, you're on.
I got to watch almost all the entire St. John's game, which was great. And then the Florida game I got to tune into. And Shemar, you make a great point that the offense is just hard to watch. It's a lot of, hey, Shay, it's your Gatorade commercial, the island work, bag work. It's just a lot of ISO. It's just a lot of hezzy 1-2 step back, get to the rack, which is like Shay and Deja are awesome and they're quick and they have that first step and they can do that. But when you're relying on that for 40 minutes a game, it's just bad. The offense just doesn't move. People just stand. The ball sticks. You swing the ball, it sticks for at least 6 seconds. Dribble. There's a lot of dribbling with the head down with no plan as to what's next. Also, there's just kind of a lack of fundamentals, I want to say.
Yeah.
I say that as a really broad term because I'm not exactly sure how to put it down into one specific term other than, guess what? They don't play off of 2 feet. I'm a big believer in basketball should be played off of 2 feet. That's as fundamental as you can get. You should get to the rack, drive in the paint as far as you can, jump stop and then see what's there. No, this team, they drive to the rack, jump with no plan, and then just whatever happens. And then bad things happen out of that, of course. I will say Alex Simmons, for whatever problems her teams have always had, the problems that the teams of Alex Simmons' past have had are getting better. I will say. You had 11 turnovers against St. John's, 12 against Florida.
Yeah.
If you told me last year that you're going sub 12 turnovers against power conference teams, I wouldn't believe you. Just because, well, I don't have the number in front of me. Sure. How many do they have? 20 plus turnovers against UAPB? Things are getting better. But this is kind of what you expected. I would have been surprised. I think I predicted that Memphis would take one of these games because they played them close. But guess what? The shots didn't fall. Corey Allen played 35 minutes against St. John's and scored 3 points. That's someone you're counting on to score the ball.
Right.
She's just out there getting cardio. And she has a role. She's playing hard. I see it. This isn't me hating on Corey Allen. This is me just saying you need more out of people that aren't named Shay or Deja because and I don't know if that's entirely on everyone else's fault because the offense is designed around go get a bucket. The majority of this team's buckets don't come in flow of an offense. They come out of super fun to watch, awesome shots. Mm-hmm. But that creates hard to watch offense for 40 minutes. You get cool highlights, you get cool plays, but for 40 minutes. And if Shay's not hitting shots, what are you going to do? You don't have a single shooter on this team.
She struggled in these 2 games too. I think she had a good. She only had 13 points against St. John, but yeah, she struggled for sure in this. But it was a couple just bad offense altogether.
Yeah, definitely just hard to watch.
Well, Chaé Harris certainly didn't have her best performances of the year, but she is still our Mugshots Player of the Week for the women's basketball side of things. Of course, if you guys tuned into Tigers Live against in the men's game against Purdue a couple weeks ago, you saw Kenny and I live at Mugshots Grill and Bar in Collierville. We are proud to announce that they will be sponsoring our Player of the Week segment every single week. So we're very happy to be bringing them on along with what we're doing with them on Tigers Live. Just a great spot over there, whether it's in Collierville. They have a few locations in Mississippi, including one in Starkville that I've been told is the most popular one. I tried it for the very first time a few weeks ago, and the food was immaculate. It's a really nice spot to hang out and watch a game. I certainly had a great time. Kenny had a great time. Everyone from Bluff City Media that was there did as well. We will be continuing to do a couple of watch parties throughout the season for the men's basketball team at Mugshots Grill and Bar. So please make sure to get out there if you can. Again, Mugshots Grill and Bar. We are glad to partner with them for this segment. But Shemaria, you kind of alluded to already. Harris did not have her best performances here in the Cayman Islands. So before we get to your convo that you had with her prior to the Cayman Islands Classic, just what did you, just kind of expand upon what you saw from her there?
Overall, she is, like we said, she's still the Mugshots Player of the Week because she started the season off fairly well. She's been the leader for the Tigers team in points, significant, one of the best. Yeah, she is the best 3-point shooter on this Tigers team. I want to clarify all that. Players struggle. Like I said, she struggled in those 2 games. 13 points wasn't enough. I can't even remember exactly what she had in the game against Florida, but like I said, Deja Richmond would take over in this game, 19 points. But yeah, I asked her a couple of questions and, about her play, her performance, her overall thoughts on the team and things like that. And it was dope.
Yeah. Well, let's get to it. Chaé Harris this week in the Cayman Islands Classic, 9 points, 3.5 assists, and 2 rebounds per game across those 2 outings against Florida and St. John's. But Shemaria, of course, talked to Chaé Harris last week, shortly before the Cayman Islands Classic, and we will show you that conversation right now. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome back to On Beat with BCM. As y'all know, my name is Shemaria Wiseman. I am the beat reporter for the Memphis women's basketball team, and I am joined here today with Mugshots Player of the Week, Chaé Harris. Chaé Harris, how are you feeling at the moment?
I'm good. I'm feeling good out here in the Cayman Islands. So, yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up. I'm going to go ahead and hop into the questions because I know what you have to do later today. I want to go back. want to go back to the off season with this question. What went into your decision to choose Memphis as your next stop, especially considering the season that the Tigers were coming off of?
Honestly, Coach Alex, our head coach, she put a good word in and she recruited me or whatever. I came on campus and she said something that I'll probably never forget. It was something like perfect your craft. And that's something I've been trying to do like my whole life. So I was like, it was little things that she was saying that aligned with what I was trying to do. So I said, this is the decision for me.
I love that. And you've quickly become the go-to scorer for the Memphis. You're leading both the team and the conference at 18.3 points per game. What has allowed you to elevate your scoring to this level so fast, especially also considering that you're averaging double what you averaged at Fort Ham?
Yeah, honestly, just not forcing. Like my coaches and teammates would tell me, like, it's gonna come easy to you. Like, we gonna get you the ball. So working with my teammates and stuff like that, and listening to my coaches and feeling the game more, if anything. Yeah.
Memphis hasn't been the strongest three-point shooting team overall. However, that is your biggest strength. How have you embraced the role of being the primary perimeter threat, and how do you create those quality looks within this Tigers offense?
Honestly, my teammates created for me. Like, I can't say I just create all of them. I create some, but they created as well. So the more we move it around, the more I'm open on the three-point line, honestly. And so I just got to flow with it. If I got the three, I got the three. If I got the mid-range, I got the mid-range.
And walk us through your game day routine. How do you prepare mentally, physically, before stepping on to the basketball court?
Well, mentally, I do a lot of meditation, prayer. I talk to God all the time. So this is like a normal thing. The things I do to get ready for like a practice day, I do for a game day. So honestly, it's like an everyday thing. Wake up, I make sure I eat. I gotta eat multiple times to be able to even move. So I do my PT, my rehab, and a lot of meditation. That's really the main thing for me.
Anything physically outside of like meditation, outside of like eating?
Not really. I don't have no specific like physical thing I do. I just go with the flow of the day for real.
I feel that meditation.
Yeah.
You've already put together multiple 20-point performances. You also had your career high a couple games ago with 24. What part of your offensive game, actually outside of scoring, do you feel has grown the most since last season?
I would say scoring, honestly. Like that's a good question. Probably being able to read the offense and like their position and stuff like that, being able to be in the right area on defense. I would say that grew a little bit more as well as my offensive game.
Let's talk about the defensive side of the ball. You've taken a step forward in that also. You're averaging 2 steals per game right now. What adjustments or improvements have you made to become a better defender since last year as well?
I would say slowing my mind down, because honestly, the game is a mental thing more than a physical thing. If you slow your mind down, you can see what they're about to do, what your offense, like the offense is about to do. They'll throw it in your hands if you just slow down and actually pay attention on the court.
Okay. And as far as the season moves forward, what goals do you have for yourself and for the team, from personal development to team chemistry, which I know this is something that Coach Alex Simmons is very open about, making sure that the ladies on the team have communication, they know each other, they hold each other accountable and things like that. Just the standard for Memphis women's basketball, what does that vision look like for you?
Honestly, at the end, we're trying to win a championship. You know, like any team is trying to win, but we're trying to dominate like our opponents to get the championship. We don't really want close games for real. With the versatility that we have on our team, we don't really want that. We want to be killing teams pretty much. So that's the goal at the end.
As far as the performances that you had this season against Ole Miss to take a SEC team like this into overtime and keep it competitive throughout the entirety of the game, what did that mean to you and the other ladies on the team? How did y'all perceive that game?
Honestly, for me, it was like, we still should have won. It's not really like an accomplishment as much when you don't win the game. So it's kind of like something to build off of. But it did tell us something about ourselves. Like we can go with anybody with the talent that we have. But we still wanted to win. So next game kind of thing.
Next game.
Yeah.
And then this is the last question to wrap it up. This is just for fun. question. Who was one player you watched heavily growing up and tried to model your game after? Male or female, doesn't matter.
Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, that's my favorite player. Let's go.
Yeah. I like watching him. For sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I see the little jersey in the back. I didn't even see it till just now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, huge fan of his. But that is all I have. The questions for you. Memphis fans actually need to stay tuned into what Chaé Harris will bring for the rest of the season for the Memphis women's basketball program. Thank you so much, Chaé Harris, for joining me today. You have a good one.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Talk about a bonding moment right there, huh?
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, Shemaria is the biggest Kyrie Irving truther there is. At least she's the biggest Kyrie Irving truther in Memphis. There may be a bigger one out there in other parts of the country. But as far as Memphis goes, she is definitely number one in that category. So I guess Chaé Harris joins you in the Kyrie Irving fan club. We thank her once again for joining us for the Mugshots Player of the Week interview. But moving on to my neck of the woods here, men's basketball got a win over Southern Illinois last week. Was what it was. Pretty rough in the first half, but they took care of business in the second. And now they got another bye game in what, by the time this airs, should be in just a couple hours against New Orleans. Once again, inside FedEx Forum on ESPN+. 7 o'clock, yours truly will be there covering that one. Sam, what are you looking for from the Tigers in this one? Just more of the same?
Yeah, more of the same. You know, the win over SIU, you got it done, and that's what you always harp back on, is you just got to survive. You know, you got to win this one against New Orleans. You can't overlook anyone. 16.5-point favorite. There's definitely an ability to feel confident here, but you definitely can't overlook them because you're looking to Baylor, right? The Baylor game's exciting, but this team doesn't yet have the benefit of the doubt to be able to start talk. But guess what? We're members of the media, so we can start talking about Baylor if we want. But this team certainly doesn't have the benefit of the doubt yet. But New Orleans isn't that compelling of a team. What's the record? About 2-5, I think. I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, no, so they're 2-5. They've actually played all 7 of their games on the road so far. They're going to be playing their 8th straight road game at Memphis. By tonight, they're going to be playing their 8th straight road game tonight at Memphis. So they've certainly had a harder road ahead. If you go to KenPom, New Orleans' strength of schedule is ranked 10th in the country. Memphis is 15th. So I think it's pretty rare to see a team that actually has a stronger strength of schedule than Memphis in these non-conference slates. But that's what you got here in New Orleans. They made some headwaves earlier on in the year with upset wins over TCU. Yeah, and they got a big one at Tulane as well. Beat the doors off of Tulane, in fact. So this New Orleans team is not. They're not a slouch, right? They're not a good team. There's no doubt they're not good, but they're not going to be just taking it lying down either.
Well, we don't know if Memphis is good yet, so that's the point.
Well, I think we do know they're not good. I think we can definitively say that they may be good enough to win the American Conference, but they're not good compared to the national landscape of college basketball that they are expected to compete in on a year-by-year basis. Yeah. But
I will say New Orleans isn't compelling, but they do have those 2 guards, and I think that's the main thing we're going to look for. They have Colton Benson. I'm sure you can give the scouting report on him. He's shooting 43% from 3, 42% from 3. And Memphis historically, Penny Hardaway has struggled against white sniper guards. Always has struggled. And then you got
Buckley, who just does everything for that team.
And his first step is just sensational. He can go. So I'm definitely interested to see how Memphis prepares and just how Memphis handles that, the guard duo for New Orleans.
Yeah, no, indeed. So you definitely raise an interesting point there, Sam, that you don't want to overlook this one in general, because first off, again, New Orleans is at least a competitive team, if nothing else. But with the net rankings dropping on Monday and those being what they are, Memphis debuts at 160 in the country in those, with New Orleans actually being at 161. Memphis has actually risen up to 156 today since then, but the point largely remains the same. The resume just isn't where it needs to be if Memphis hopes to even have a chance of getting an at-large resume to the NCAA tournament. 0-3 in quads 1 and 2, and they have a quad 4 loss at home, obviously the UNLV. If they lose this one to New Orleans, that would already be a second quad 4 loss on the docket, and that just doesn't need to happen. Now, this Memphis team is still not going to get an at-large bid anyway, unless they just go ham over their following 3 against Baylor, Vanderbilt, and Louisville. Like they'd have to win at least 2 of those, I'd say, if not all 3, to even get back in the at-large.
After, who also isn't that great.
I know, actually. Yeah, no, right. Mississippi State. Mississippi State will be a quad 3 game today.
Right.
Yeah. Opportunity.
You have those 4 games. I think you got to win at least 3 of them. But I think you make a good point. Is at large is largely out of the picture right now. You just got to handle it one game at a time. You're not looking at big picture right now.
Yeah, I mean, Shemaria, I think it's a similar position to the women's team, right? I think both squads have collectively overall taken themselves out of at-large contention. The men's team, given its schedule ahead, still has a chance to get back into it. But let's be honest, it's probably not going to, given what we've seen for them on the court. So I guess you would agree with me, and from this standpoint, that winning this game is more so about the vibes, right, and getting back on track from that standpoint. You don't want to lose to another subpar opponent at home there.
Yeah, hopefully they can carry in the momentum from last game into the next game. But yeah, just take it one game at a time for the Tigers men's.
Yeah, no, I mean, beyond that, they're going to face New Orleans, and then it's Baylor coming up on Saturday. And Baylor isn't the best opponent in the world, but it is still a quad 2 opportunity at home. Should bring out a bit more fanfare, even though given how bad Memphis has been to start the year, you're still weary of what exactly that attendance is going to look like at FedEx Forum on college football conference championship Saturday is a Memphis Baylor game. Saturday. Yeah. Oh yeah, the St. Jude Marathon as well. So a lot of other things going on. So considering where Memphis is at, is that game going to bring as much fanfare as Memphis was probably hoping for it to be? I mean, it being on CBS, prime time, Saturday afternoon, tip slot. Yeah, it's just not exactly an ideal spot there. But, Baylor is still an interesting team coming to town. Scott Drew, of course, the big name that draws in a lot of eyeballs, some NBA talent on that roster as well. So that will certainly be an opportunity for Memphis to once again show how it stacks up against the big dogs. But so far, it has shown that it cannot for 40 minutes. I mean, they gave Purdue a scare, should have beaten Wake Forest. So they are capable of playing with them, but they have not shown to be capable of playing with them for 40 minutes. Go back to the exhibitions, it was really bad. So I think at this juncture, you'd be happy with Memphis to be able to be competitive in a game like that. But with it being at home, that's a game that Memphis typically expects to win historically. So we'll see. We'll know what happens in that one by the time we get back here next week. But real quickly, we do need to go to our men's Mugshots Player of the Week, and that is going to be Julius Thedford, who I just thought was really impressive against Southern Illinois. He's been a real spark plug for this team throughout the season, and that's certainly continued against the Salukis. He has 15 points, a team high 6 rebounds, along with 3 steals in that one. He, I believe, still leads the team in rebounds per game right now. I'd have to go back and check that, but I believe that is still the case with him. And I think we can open up a whole nother discussion on that if we had the time, that a 6'4" guard leads your team in rebounding and not your 7'1" transfer that you're paying excess of $500,000 to. But
2.3 rebounds a game from 1.7 from Bradshaw. So
Thedford leads the rebounds.
But Thedford has been he hasn't been great, but he's been good so far this year, and he was certainly a standout against Southern Illinois. Shemaria, you're a Memphian just like both of us here. I'm sure Thedford was a guy that you heard about a lot coming up in the high school scene over the last couple of years, him just being a sophomore after spending his freshman year at Western Kentucky. So what is it like for you to see a Memphis player take a prime role on the Tigers like this, even with the season not going the way that fans probably wanted it to start?
I think this has always been a thing with the Memphis basketball team, specifically about getting that home talent back playing and showing that fight, that effort that we know the city of Memphis, embodies and things like that. So it's great to see Julius Thetford, a Memphis native, come and dominate wearing a Memphis jersey under Penny. So I'm loving his performance so far for this team. I think it will continue to be shown throughout the entirety of this season, and yeah, I'm happy with him.
Thetford still has yet to. Has he started once? I don't think he started yet. It kills me that I don't know this off the top of my head. I don't think. Okay, yeah, he started once. He started once this year. But point remains that despite him consistently being a standout performer and one of the real guys on this team that's actually bringing consistent energy on a game-by-game basis, the role and the minutes distribution still has not reflected that in a way that maybe it should at this point. So, Sam, how do you balance between giving Thetford his due as the guy who's bringing it, as opposed to trying to still get the guys who were supposed to be your main players going there?
Yeah, I think it is important to note that he is just like the Memphian. He's one of the few Memphians on this team, and that might be to credit for how hard he plays. But I think that's just who Julius Thetford is. I don't think where he plays is going to matter. And on a team full of disappointing transfers, Julius Thetford is one of the few players who have met or exceeded expectations. And Penny talked about it, that I think we've mentioned it before on this show, that the players who should be trying the hardest aren't, yet the players who shouldn't be trying the hardest, who are less talented, are. And I think that will, and Penny's gonna, I think Penny is smart enough to self-correct that. Like he will figure that out. Maybe, hopefully not too late, but Thetford is, if not a starter, he's at least a finisher on this team, right? He's one of your five. He's one of the 5 players on this team who give you the best chance to win, because he just plays hard, and on a team that's kind of lacking. I don't want to say care factor, on a team that's lacking just hustle, just at its base, just hustle people who are willing to go all out. Thetford does every play, and that's really fun to watch. Those are the players that get other players to buy in and also get fans to buy in.
Yeah, well, Thetford actually mentioned, I believe, after the UNLV game, when he spoke to reporters, that he is having a bit of trouble, getting his teammates to bring as much energy and buy in as much as he is, and he has been. Again, he put it in kind of a lighthearted way, but right. I think there was kind of an underlying darker truth to what he was trying to express there. Based off of what I know, I think you can go as far as to say that maybe there isn't a widespread lack of a care factor across the team, but I think you do see that on an individual by individual base at certain points. With some guys, it's getting better than others, for sure. But I think that has been a thing that has plagued this team pretty consistently throughout the year to start. There's a reason why Penny has mentioned it so much going back to the preseason. And heading into this stretch, if they want to have even a semblance of a chance to pull off the upsets, they're going to have to get back in at-large conversation. That's just got to be rectified. It's got to turn around. And we saw them play harder against Purdue. We saw them play harder against Wake Forest, and they played hard enough against Southern Illinois to win, even though the effort still could have been better in that one. So I guess it's just a matter of waiting and seeing. Again, they got to get through this New Orleans game, got to win it, because losing it would just upend you even more and really set you even further down the downward spiral there. And then they got to hope to pull off the upset against Baylor on Saturday. Don't know how likely it is, but if they can put up an inspiring performance against New Orleans, perhaps that can give you enough momentum and give you enough of a groove to go into that one against Baylor with a bit more confidence than you otherwise would. But that is going to do it for this edition of On Beat with BCM. Once again, we want to thank Mugshots for partnering with us for this Player of the Week segment for the first time, and we really look forward to continuing to do these interviews with the athletes throughout the season. And once again, the Tigers Live watch parties at Mugshots Grill and Bar in Collierville as well. But for Sam Shoemaker, for Shemaria Wiseman, and for everyone else on the Bluff City Media YouTube network, this is Roman Cleary signing out. We will see you all next week live here at 7 o'clock on Bluff City Media. But enjoy the Memphis-New Orleans game. Before that, we will see you all next week.
Thank you for listening to this episode of On Beat with BCM. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to the Bluff City Media YouTube page. We'll see you back here next time.